This episode of the Community Workbench podcast is brought to you by yours truly, Matt Norn of Remax Bell Park Real. For all of your real estate needs, call me 860-428-6534. Your dreams are my job. Welcome to the Community Workbench. This is Matt Norn and Kyle Morrissey. We are your hosts of the #1 podcast in my basement. At the bench, we try to repair the sense of community. So every week, we bring you small businesses, entrepreneurs, community leaders, charities, and pretty much whoever we feel like talking to. And this week, we have the distinct honor of talking to the Quiet Corner Peer Support Group. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invite.
Mike Shabenas.
Mike Shabenas.
Sorry.
Don't worry.
We're starting off great.
And Keven
hacked my
McNeal.
whole
Yes.
We're Keven.
What do you prefer? Keven or
No,
Kevin?
Kevin. It's Kevin. It's Kevin. Like I told you earlier, my parents cursed me with the spelling. So
On the bench today, we have some gentlemen that have done a lot, accomplished a lot. One has written a book, a memoir. You did how many years in corrections?
20 and a half.
20 and a half. That's wild.
Yep.
That's a long time to be doing corrections for.
Yeah, it was.
I'm sure that's quite an accomplishment. And you were a police officer at a Norwich for 19 years.
yeah, so it was actually 15 out of Norwich, 4 out of the town of Colchester, so 19 total.
Wow. Thank you both for your service. That's and you're also been a firefighter
38 years.
38 years. Thank
Yep.
you so much for your service. That's again unbelievable. That's great. And you were at Dayville Fire Department the whole time?
Yep, started at Dayville January 1st, 1987.
Wow.
A lot's changed. Since
I was 6. I was 6 then. I don't want to rub that in, Chief. Not for nothing, but was I still in diapers? Probably at 6 I was still in diapers. So.
Absolutely, that's when I started. All right, yep. And it was not horse-drawn.
We were going to get to that.
We had diesel trucks.
Had the Dalmatians running up ahead, barking
Right.
people out of the path.
Yep.
Now, how long have you been chief? Or are you still the chief?
I'm still chief. Been chief for 3 years, just over 3 years now.
Okay.
Yep.
If you don't mind, just kind of give us the outline or what Quiet Corner Peer Support Group is, and maybe the contact information, so we have that up front.
Sure. So our group was formed back in December of last year. It was really out of necessity. There's nothing up in our area to support our first responders. So our story actually goes back a long time, but really what it comes down to is Chief and I got together and we said, there's a lot going on in our community. The volunteer world is struggling to get folks through the door, and we're struggling to keep people coming back through the door once they're members. So we need to do something. And really, coming from a law enforcement background, corrections background, and plus firefighting background, we decided the best approach would be to create a peer support group. So we started talking about that, and next thing I know, we're writing the paperwork up for a nonprofit, and honestly, it's just been a whirlwind since.
Wow. And so, if somebody needs your help, how do they reach out? Do you guys have like a phone number, a hotline? Is it?
We
How does it
don't
work that way?
We don't have a hotline yet. We have a number in place, but it's not ready for the public yet. But it is coming. Right now, it's we have a network within the first responder community up in the northeastern part of Connecticut. Pretty much, if anything goes down, we are notified within moments of it. It's actually to the point of fact where we're getting text messages as people are responding to the call itself to saying, you guys might want to be on standby. Something's going down. And then the details start to slowly trickle in, and then we're activated within 20 minutes to a half hour of the call. We're already en route to wherever we need to be to support our first responders. So that's one way.
Wow.
Another way is we just get phone calls, and folks will reach out to us at all hours of the day saying, I'm struggling, I need help. What can you do for me? And we have a network in play that we can just kind of go down the checkbox list and get people the help they need. So,
Do you mind sharing some of the examples that you don't have to mention names or any like detailed stories, just like kind of like what they go through, what they would reach out to ask help for, that kind
Sure.
of thing.
So probably one of the more recent ones we've had is there was an incident where a child had been injured, and several departments were involved up in the Northeast, responded, and it was a very traumatic call for not only the child and family, but for also for the first responders. Now these are some seasoned first responders. These aren't first year EMTs. I mean these folks have been through a lot, and it was a particularly traumatic event that occurred, and we were notified within about 5 minutes of the call that this is going down, just to be on standby. So about maybe 20 minutes to a half hour into the call, I got a phone call from an EMT that or paramedic that said, this is what happened. Can you guys respond to the ambulance garage? This crew's currently up at the hospital, but they're really struggling with this call, and we need to do something. So I have a four-legged friend that rides with me, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have all heard of her, but Hope.
Hope.
And so Hope is always at the ready. So of course I ran the call by her and I said, Hope, are you ready to go? And with a tail wag and a bark, she was out the door and picked up Chief on the way, and we went up to the ambulance garage, and we waited probably a good hour and a half before the crew got back to the garage. And when they came through, now we know these first responders. It's a very close community.
Right, right.
When they came through the door and they saw us, it was just a wave of relief. In fact, we heard afterwards that one of the paramedics said to us, "I'm so happy that you guys are here. This means the world to me." And I'm struggling. I mean, he's been a paramedic and EMT 20 something years, and he was struggling. That's how bad this call was.
Wow.
And so we met with all the EMTs. They got to hang out with Hope. And of course, Hope did her thing that she does, where she puts everybody at ease. And then what we did is we followed up with some aftercare. And what we do in our group is something that's unique to Connecticut. It's something that is not really around our area, but we as a group seeked it out. It's what they call acute stress adaptive protocol, and essentially what it is like EMDR therapy, but it's peers doing it instead of therapists. So we're all trained in it. We did we met with the EMT afterwards that was really struggling. We did what they call an ASAP with him, and we by the end of the session, I mean he felt a lot of relief. A lot of the trauma that he was facing as a result of seeing what he saw that day cleared up, and we were able to continually follow up with him and get him to a place to where he felt comfortable and coming back through the door to answer a call. So that's pretty much how we are. Once we get a call, we follow it right through to the end, and then we continually follow up with folks.
Wow. Are you guys it, or are there more?
No.
Okay.
I'll let Chief talk about that. We have a big group.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. So basically, when we put the group together, I've been doing a lot of studying, looking at how to do this, and until I really ran back into Kevin, I didn't really have this partner that would kind of really wanted to work with and get this done. And one thing I learned is if you're going to do a program like this, it's got to have layers to it, because every human being's different. Everybody's been through different things throughout their lives. Like I was telling you earlier, I'm not going to know what a combat vet's been through. We have first responders that are combat vets. We have first responders that are very much religious. We have all these different people we're trying to take care of. So the one thing when we formed this, I want to make sure we added layers to it. So we have like a chaplain service, we have a veteran service, we'll have police, we'll have all these different things to help people out in the end. And that's when we did. So one thing we started with is when you come to the group, I'm just Mike Shabenas. I'm not Chief Shabenas. We drop titles. We drop the numbers on the back of our shirts. It's about everybody working together. It's about every firehouse coming together with different personnel to help out our whole community. So there's no rank involved, and it's going to keep growing. I mean, we have people that they want to help.
Right.
And I kind of figured that was the way it was going to work, because when I started in my firehouse, as I was saying earlier, when I first became chief, I wrote that letter to all my members, and I've been paid back like there's no tomorrow. They care about it. It's just more like a family atmosphere at Dayville now. There's this family. We get mad at each other like family. We love each other like family.
Yeah.
And we take care of each other. And they check on each other. I don't even have to do it now.
Yeah.
They'll check on each other.
Yeah.
Oh, I just checked on so and so, and I just
Right.
So it's a great great system.
Do you mind telling that story? I know you kind of told us before the podcast, but the story where you put the letters in and then
Yeah,
how
so
you kind of started it for Dayville Fire, right?
yeah, for Dale Fire comes. So basically, when I first became chief, over the years I just kind of had enough of, we all call ourselves brothers and sisters, and then it comes down when somebody's fallen, we tend to kind of back off. We kind of like, oh, I don't want to get involved in that. Oh my God, they're drinking a little too much, or oh, they're doing this. So we have this tendency to back off, and I'm like, we got to stop that. If we're going to call each other's brothers and sisters, we've got to truly be brothers and sisters.
Right,
That means
right.
brothers and sisters don't back off. So when I wrote the letter, I actually put it in all their gear lockers, put it in there, sat in my office for a couple hours, pulled them all out of the gear lockers. 'Cause I was like, they're going to think I'm a weak leader. They're going to think I'm a weak chief. They're going to be like, they're not going to want this. Then at the end of the day, I just decided, nope, I am putting the letter back in.
Yeah.
And it worked out really good. So we do like quarterly dinners. I'll do what we call mental health dinner. We get pizzas and stuff like that, and we talk.
Yeah.
And everybody in the firehouse will come down, and we have conversations, and we know a lot about what's going on in each other's lives, which makes a big difference when you have somebody that comes in and maybe they're not having the greatest day, but you kind of realize why they're not having a great day, or
Right.
why they're, just in this rut. Because, not having a good day doesn't mean it's just one day. Somebody can get in a rut in life because they've just had so much stuff happening to them. And now you care about them, and you go maybe have a cup of coffee with them, go and do this and that, maybe grab a pizza, and just relax. And like I said, I love it. Now it's such a tight knit group. I've been there 38 years, and it's a great bunch of people down there helping out their community.
Right.
So it's really paid it forward a lot.
Yeah, it really must have built up the camaraderie and just, now you have each other's backs in so many more ways. It's such an amazing thing that you guys are doing with that.
Yeah, I would say, and, but Dayville, since I've been chief, has probably run over 2,700 calls in 3 years, and we have not missed one call.
Wow.
And we've had multiple people on those calls. This is how much they're active.
Right.
They want to be active. I think I have 20 interior firefighters, state of Connecticut certified, 23 EMTs, 9 EMRs. I mean, the list just goes on. They're an amazing group of people. I always tell them, I said, guys, you got to write this down. Somebody write this down. Keep your history. I said, make sure you know 20 years from now what you've done, because everywhere in the state, they're saying this is all doesn't exist.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, it does exist. You just got to have the right people in place to get it to go.
Yeah, you almost have to have like a scribe.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if anyone would
I keep
volunteer
telling
to
him.
do that, to be the scribe for
The book writer right here.
Well, even if that's just like another position at
Yeah.
a firefight or at a fire garage, or station,
Yep.
just like have a group scribe. I know in Boy Scouts we try to have a scribe for all that stuff. Same kind of idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can put it out to the group and see if anybody wants it. Some people enjoy writing and journaling.
Sounds like you were
and stuff like that.
voluntold, right?
I think that might have been an order.
That's funny.
So when did you guys meet? You guys have a
Oh,
deep history,
Yeah,
two
yeah,
of
we
you,
do.
right?
We do. So I've been in the first responder world for 27 years. I joined when I was 16 years old. I actually joined in Dayville. So I was this punk little kid back in the day, and there was this old grizzled, what I thought was old, which is now at 40 something. It's not old, but this old grizzled guy. You're probably in your 20s then. But this old corrections officer who had very young kids at the time.
Yep.
And I bumped. He was a leader in the organization. There's no doubt about it. He definitely had what it took back then. And I looked up to him as a young kid, as a junior member, and so I'm sure he saved me out of a couple jams a few times as a young kid doing stupid things in the firehouse. So then I kind of went my separate way, and I went into I always joke about it. I took the wrong test. I became a police officer. I did pass the fire test for everybody out there, but I just became a police officer because I wanted to help people, and I wanted to, I always wanted to be in the action. So I figured the police route was the way to go. went through my career, had a interesting career, and in 2022 I ended up leaving policing because of severe PTSD,
Oh,
and
wow.
finally I just couldn't take it anymore. And if you want later, we can get into that. But I just couldn't take it, and I left. And well, I made a promise to a little boy that when he was 14, we would join the fire department again. So that was my oldest son as well. When he turns 14, he reminded me, Dad, you said we could go back to the fire department. By then, 2022, I wanted nothing to do with the first responder world. I just wanted to lock myself in a closet and never come out again. And but I had to make that promise, and so I joined up the local firehouse up in South Killenly with my oldest son Benny, and we started running calls and stuff. And I kept hearing about this chief in Dayville, not by name, just the chief. You know, he's very progressive. He's he believes in family in the firehouse and bringing folks together. And I would hear it through training because I teach up at the fire school, so I'd hear all this stuff, run into his members at the firehouse. So one day I kind of put things together. I'm like, oh, they're talking about Mike Shabenas. Like, okay, I know who he is. And so I made that connection. Well, I was looking to become a rope tech and to go to this training, and they had an opening in Dayville to go down. So it was in the middle of the summer, and I jumped down into the training. And next thing I know, Chief and I are talking about mental health stuff, and I'm like, wow, he's really passionate about it. And I had just finished my dissertation for my doctorate, and I had done it on fire departments and about creating family atmospheres and retention and recruitment stuff. So I mean, I was like, all really fascinated by what he was telling me, and I'm like, we should really connect on this subject. And I asked him, you know, sometime during the conversation, can I bring this program I do, Spot the Signs? It's basically about my book. Can I bring it to your firehouse? And he's like, without it, before I even finish the sentence, he's like, when do you want this to happen? So we did the event, and next thing I know, like we realized how many people were suffering outside of Dayville Firehouse.
Wow.
And we were like, wow, this is a problem because people came to the event and afterwards were coming to me, coming to Mike and saying, you know, I'm struggling, I need help. So we started to connect on that. And next thing I know, like we're talking about a nonprofit. We went and got a therapy dog that I didn't really tell my wife about. So she came home from work and there's this little fluffy dog there. And I'm like, hey, meet Hope. And I did tell her a little bit in passing, but but you know, next thing I know, like everything's moving at a rapid pace, and we're building this nonprofit, and there were just so many wonderful things happening, and we were very early on. We were starting to connect with folks in the first responder community, and we're starting to help them get through some things, and we just realized how important this mission is. And since then, I don't think we've taken our foot off the gas. It's
No.
been to the floor. And the only thing now is we're just picking up more people as we go. There's 30 folks on the team right now. There's
Wow.
we're probably going to continue adding to it. I mean, I'm getting emails and phone calls almost weekly about, can I join the team? Can I do this? So it's just growing.
What does the team consist of? Is it all first responders helping first responders, or is there like some therapists there? Is there different personnel, like different walks of life? Like,
Oh yeah, we have therapists, counselors, we have combat vets, we have a chaplain side. So that was the whole point of it, was to make sure, because like I was saying earlier, we're all different people. So
mhm.
you don't know who's going to connect with who. So the more options we give that person that's kind of down and out, the
Yeah.
better. It could be as simply as just sitting with our chaplain, who's one of the most peaceful guys out there. He just is. So you could just sit with him for hours if you wanted to. And then, having the dog come in, Hope it was just something that I don't know, it was just,
She's really driving, and all of a sudden,
yeah,
like, we're hitting the gas, but she's steering the car. Like,
yeah,
I'll be honest with you, because she was really that missing piece we needed. Because I think it added, I don't know how to describe it. I think it was kind of like that buffer for us at first, because we were kind of putting should we do this? Should we not? And then once we got Hope, and then once her page started to go viral, and we were getting all these messages, we're like, we're on the right path. And then we had her first deployment, where she went out to a critical incident, and then it didn't stop from there. We've had, I believe 13 since I brought Hope home. November 30th was when I brought Hope home. So we've had 13 call outs just with her alone. So she's a very active dog, and then she's always at community events, and she's really the one driving the car. Chief and I are kind of in the passenger seat, and
Yeah.
just kind of
just kind of
just along
enjoying
for the
it.
ride.
Yeah.
So, with Hopes, when she got deployed to a critical incident, can you kind of give us some more details on that? That sounds.
So I'll be honest with you. My very first one, my very first one, it was a little nerve wracking because I didn't know what to do. So I came from the police world. I've worked critical incidents. I was a crisis intervention officer. I had a lot of training in this, so I know how to handle folks that are in emotional distress. There's no doubt about that. I was more nervous about what Hope was going to do because she's just starting in her training, so she's not fully trained. So when I put the vest on her, that was her cue that, okay, Dad, it's time to go to work. So the very first call out we had was involving a member of the fire department who was hit by a car, and a lot of members were really upset about it. And Hope did a phenomenal job. She did exactly what she was supposed to do. She comforted everybody, and as a canine handler, I didn't really have to do much. I just had to be there. And I think that's where I was concerned. Like I felt like I had to do something, but no, she just does her thing. She works the room, and she caused everybody to kind of get down to a good base layer. And
Yeah.
people were talking, they were opening up while they were petting her, and she did the job. So.
Yeah, it's kind of reminded me. Obviously, this is like just barely relative, but we have a dog on a job site. You see some of the toughest guys, like just all of a sudden get down on their knees, like, "Ooh, you're so cute," and they're petting and acting like this,
right?
is super empathetic person. You know what I mean? It's like, so I kind of get like the dog thing, like what you're saying. What was missing? It's kind of like that icebreaker, kind of brings everybody to be like, "Oh, we're gonna play with a dog. It's not tough guy time," you know.
She's a great icebreaker. Is really what it is. And when you go, you can feel when you go to these critical incidents, you feel the tension when you're walking through the door, and then you start to feel it released when they see Hope, and then they start to pet Hope, and they start to talk things out, and then you're hearing what they went through, and you're acknowledging that you are going through this. It's okay not to be okay,
Right.
And we're here to help. We're here to figure this out and help you navigate this. You're not in this alone. And if you want Hope to come back a day from now, a week from now, just call me up. Here's my number. Text me. I'll bring Hope back down. So, and I've had that happen where I went out initially, and then a couple of days later, someone calls me up. Hey, I'm not feeling that great. Is Hope around? Yeah, we'll go to your house. We'll do whatever. So, it's again, she's that icebreaker that there's just that missing piece we needed, and it's been a wild ride. It really has.
I'm sure.
And with the point on the dog was, so when I was doing my mental health dinners, I was always trying to come up with ideas on what else can I throw into this. So I actually brought a dog in one time to one of the dinners, and it was funny. I just watched my personnel sit with the dog and stay with the dog, and then we had been doing it so long, they actually started grouping with themselves and moving around, talking to each other, but then filtering right to the dog too, and it was great. I was like, okay, now that works too.
Right.
It's all these little things. Like some people say, oh, the dogs don't work, or the dog, they 100% do. It's not a cure. It's a change of mindset.
Right.
That's where you're trying to take a negative mind, turn it into a positive, and even if you're just giving somebody, as the name says, hope, just a little bit of relief from having such a horrible day, And what's great about the town of Killenly too is all the chiefs are on board. Every one of them is backing this. And I can't say enough about all those chiefs to step up and say, yeah, we're going to back this with it. They all have signed documents to help out, and I think we got somebody from every firehouse.
Yeah, we do. As far as on the team members, there's pretty much every firehouse in the district.
That's incredible. That's just so cool. That's I just can't even fathom how good this is for the community and for first responders and whatnot. And like you said, just the being able to retain them, and because it's obviously a passion people will have to fight fires and be part of a fire station and stuff like that. But if their health, for whatever reason, if their health, they can't do it anymore, then this keeps them doing it longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. They can keep doing the things that they're passionate about.
Oh, yeah. I have a whole wall dedicated to mental health, and I just have little handballs and stress balls and little puzzle things, and it's comical because I was watching one of them one day, and they're taking it and they're doing this, and then they start laughing. I'm like, that worked.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, it's just changing the mind, getting your things off of you. You had a bad day, and that's all you need. It's just that little change of pace to say we're gonna do, a little mindset here, and it's awesome. Like I said, I couldn't ask for anything better. Run into Kevin again over the summer, and doing this is like a dream come true for me. This is, having the dog and him as a partner. I wouldn't trade it for nothing.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so cool. You want to tell us a little bit about your book? Well, actually, let's mention that you're a business owner as well.
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So back in September of last year, I started a business called First In Tactics. And really the purpose of the business, twofold. One was to train first responders better in the EMS world. Because we see that a lot of first responders, and I can really only attribute to our area, kind of struggle with EMS, EMT, EMR type calls, or passing the exam, or I see a lot of people struggle. So came up with the concept to do that, and then as I was starting to push into that realm, I realized that there are other areas of the first responder world that need kind of help. And I started dealing with a lot of the mental health. So I started that course I told you about, Spot the Signs, where I would go and talk about my experiences with PTSD and what I did to kind of get myself out of a dark place. And essentially what I did is I just kind of cover what the book's about, and then I get into some examples of what you can do to kind of try to bulletproof your mind so that you're not having to face a lot of things that I did in my life. So I created this business, and then I realized that there are other areas that are lacking in the first responder world. One of the classes that I just started doing is de-escalation training. So it's a hot button issue in the police world. It seems like everybody's going through de-escalation training. You don't do it in the EMS world. Well, the EMS folks and the first responders, they have to deal with people that are amped up, that want to hurt them. Sometimes they go in and the scene is not safe. So what do you do at that point? And what I was finding is, going to a lot of calls, is some folks in the first responder world lack the communication skills that are needed to get themselves out of sticky jam, or potentially, keep themselves from getting hurt from someone. So I started doing a lot of that stuff, and it's taking off. There's definitely a need. There's a lot of folks that were doing it in the area that are no longer doing it. So it's kind of lots falling on my lap. So it's keeping me busy, but it's all positive stuff.
And that basically your school, First in Texas, is like a school there. You have different trainings.
Yeah, it's a mobile school right now. Ideally, I'd love to have a storefront somewhere, maybe someday. But right now it's a mobile school, so we pretty much go to the fire departments to teach the courses.
Yeah.
We're traveling all over the Northeast right now.
Wow. Well, that's good. Keeps you busy. Your book is memoirs of your life, called Pushing It Down. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So this book is 4 years in the making. It was recently published in January of this year. I got to be honest with you, it was probably one of the hardest things I ever did, was to put my life out there for everybody to judge me and to criticize every move that I ever did, and to put it in writing so people could do it repeatedly. So it's definitely.
Well, thanks for giving me the copy too.
I just want to know what you're stepping into. So the reason why I wrote the book is I wanted to help people find their voice. And a lot of times you hear about PTSD and you hear about mental health issues in the first responder world, and it's usually the issues are after somebody comes on the job for a while. They see and they're exposed to traumas, and then eventually they have the burnout, and then they go down that path of being diagnosed with PTSD. For me, a lot of my issues started in my young childhood. So I really took that stance of that you can have trauma in your childhood. You can go through a lot of different things. You can go through some of the worst things that anybody can ever go through, and still go into the first responder world, and then kind of, essentially, it's in the title, is push it down, and you get through the process. You become a police officer, EMT, firefighter, whatever, and those traumas never go away. They're always there, bubbling below the surface. And for me, it was always bubbling there, and I just wouldn't acknowledge it. I just continued pressing forward. I never really gave it much thought until 2016, and 2016 was a horrible moment in my life, where it was a traffic stop gone bad, and I was violently assaulted, and I ended up in the hospital, and I had to go through 2 surgeries on my neck. I wasn't sure if I was coming back. and I really had to fight to come back to become a police officer again. I had to go through fit for duty and all that from this event. And when I was going through all that, I was diagnosed with PTSD, and they really couldn't pinpoint, was it from my childhood, was it from, I mean, all the stuff I've seen as a first responder. You know, they couldn't pinpoint what it was, but they knew I had it. And when I was diagnosed, I was really upset about the diagnosis. I thought I was a strong person. I thought I was that rock. So I didn't I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't I didn't really take it serious. And then in 2020, my in the middle of the pandemic, my life exploded, and I found myself out on administrative leave. I found myself battling with addiction to alcohol, and I was just at an all-time low. And I was in this real dark place, and I just kind of trying to fight my way out of it, trying to figure out what to do. I got into ultra running, so I don't know if you guys,
Wow.
if we have any runners in the room, but I got into ultra
Nope,
running.
hate running.
And I went into a really dark place with ultra running, to where I would
Wow.
run till my feet bled. I'd run till I couldn't move anymore. I was trying to run through the trauma, and to a certain extent, it got me back to becoming a police officer again. It got me back on the road, but I wasn't fixed. And I went back on the road after being out for a couple months on administrative leave. I stopped drinking alcohol, and I was back in on the job, and things just, they weren't the same. I looked at things a little different when I went back. I just I never felt like I belonged there again when I went back this next time. And finally, I just one day I was answering an alarm call, and had a panic attack in my cruiser, and I actually ripped off my. I thought I was having a heart attack. I'm like, shit. I'm 40 years old. Heart attacks happen to first responders in their 40s. Like, I've been eating like crap, so I'm like, it's got to be that. So I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack. But fortunately, I had a close friend of mine that showed up when I called out on the radio for help. He showed up, and he's like, "Hey, dude, you're having a panic attack. This isn't a heart attack." Like, he goes, "I have them. I have them all the time." And so I drove into the station, and I said, "Enough is enough. I'm going home." They put me on administrative leave again, and then I tried to go for a medical retirement. It didn't go well. I had to fight with the city because they wouldn't acknowledge it, that it was on the job trauma. They tried to equate it to when I was a firefighter before I was a cop. And long story short, it was April Fool's Day 2022. I wrote my resignation letter to the chief and said, "I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm moving on."
Wow.
And but I thought I was fixed after that, and I wasn't. I wasn't. And so I sat down and I wrote the book during all this, and it was a lot of trauma, a lot of drumming
Yeah.
up some stuff, some very uncomfortable stuff,
Yeah.
and some stuff that I knew if I put out there in the public, that somebody that was involved in this may read about it. And but I said, you know something, the world needs to know. Like, people need to know. They shouldn't struggle in silence.
Hmm.
And so, to get back to the peer support group, this is why it's so personal to me, because I don't want people to struggle in silence. I want them to learn from my mistakes, and to take everything that happened to me, and realize that if I would have spoke up, 25 years ago, things would have been different in my life. I don't regret where I'm at now. Don't get me wrong, but things would have
Right.
progressed differently, and I probably wouldn't have had to fight through so much just trauma.
Yeah.
So
Just to kind of go back to the buddy that got to your car, he was like, "I have them all the time." That's got to be eye opening too. Just be like,
yeah,
to know the difference between a heart attack and a panic attack. I mean, I probably wouldn't know because I'm not trained that way, but just the idea that he had them that often,
he had been through some shit. He had been through some pretty, in a short period of time, because he wasn't on that long on the job. He had
Wow.
been through some pretty serious stuff. He had been involved in a few shootings. He was involved in some pretty heavy stuff that really nobody should face in the first responder world. And I know he struggled with mental health because he had told me a few times, but we didn't talk about it. And I'll be honest with you, mental health in the police world, you didn't talk about it. If you did, you were going to be sent to the rubber gun squad, and good luck. Your career. In fact, in 2016, when I came forward and I said, "I'm struggling," and I told the police chief, I watched his face when I told him this. And I was like, right there, my career's over.
Wow.
I'm done. I'm cooked, because there is no bouncing back from. I have PTSD. I'm being treated for it. Don't worry, chief. I'm good. Because the first thing he asks is, are you suicidal?
Yeah.
Because what do you say? Like, yeah, chief, I'm suicidal. What's he going to do to you? He's going to take your gun, your badge, and now you're out for the long haul until you can fight your way back again. So, you know, you just don't talk about it. Or back then, it's probably a little different now, but back then you didn't talk about it. And if you did, you were labeled, and good luck, your career's over.
Wow. That's so crazy. That's just traumatic in itself. You know what I mean? Like, just to be
Yeah.
like under that, like, whatever that pressure that you can't, not only you got to push it down, but then you can't tell anybody. That's wild. That's,
Yeah, and it was so bad so that I didn't even tell my wife. She kind of knew some stuff was going on, but you know, I wasn't truthful with her, and I regret that to this day that I didn't come forward. But you know, I think she just thought I was kind of struggling with the job, and I kept saying I don't know if I could do this anymore. I don't know. I don't know. This is 2016. I don't know. I don't know. And I went another what 4 6 years of
wow.
just living in hell.
Yeah.
And just trying to be like, because the one thing they do in the police world, I'm sure it was the same in the corrections, but they dangle the retirement carrot in front of you.
Oh, wow.
And everybody talks about their pension. So all day long, they're talking about their pension. They're like, if I contribute this, if I work this, if I, you know, if I work extra overtime, my pension's going to be this. Everybody's like that carrot.
Constantly growing. Yeah.
And it's constantly growing. You're like, this is where I want to be. And that's how I was.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of your decision making is based off of your pension. Once I made the decision, I didn't give a shit about my pension anymore. Things got a little easier to think things through. So I kind of said that back in like 2016, 2017. I didn't care about the pension, but I still hid things from people. But it made a little bit of a difference. But still, I mean, it was hard. And then even when I was going through at the end, a lot of my buddies were like, "Oh, you're gonna give it up? You have?" Because at the time I had 5 years to retirement. They're like, "You're gonna throw it all away. Why are you gonna do this?" And I said to him, I said, right now I'm a shell of myself. What do you think is going to happen 5 years from now? What are you going to think? So I retire. I'm going to die probably of a massive heart attack. I'm going to be in divorce court because my wife is not going to deal with my shit anymore. My kids aren't going to know me. Like, what kind of quality of life am I going to have after 5 years?
Right. Right.
And especially because I wasn't getting the help with mental health either. That was another thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was talking to a buddy the other day about, eating right and trying to stay healthy, because and then you talk about like, always talking about retirement, and it's like money is a factor. It always is. We're in a capitalist society. It's just the way it is. And to a certain degree, you gotta find that balance of how much I'm gonna save for the future and how much I'm gonna spend right now, because future is not promised. And then especially if you feel like you're going into it wildly unhealthy,
yeah.
then it's like, what does it matter?
For me, the final nail in the coffin with all of this was I was sitting, it was 2021, in the fall 2021. I was still on the road. I was still a cop on the road. I'd switched from day shift to evening shift because I wanted to get away from the bullshit of day shift. Day shift, a lot of brass around, a lot of higher ups. No offense, chief, but there's a lot of folks that are around during the day that you just kind of want to hide from, especially a senior patrolman. You want to stay away from them. And I had a very close friend who I'd known for many years, and he had developed COVID. And then all of a sudden, next thing I know, he's on a respirator. Things are going south quick. Now, this is a guy that stuck up for me my entire career, had my back. Everything we went into together, he always had my back. Very truthful, very straightforward. He's like the epitome of integrity. He's like really good guy. So all this is happening with him, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, please don't die. Like, I need you right now. I'm struggling. It was very selfish of me to even think that.
Right.
But I was thinking that. I'm like, this is really at work. This is my guy. This is my rock. And unfortunately, he lost the battle with COVID and ended up passing away. Well, I went to the funeral with my family, my wife and two kids, and we're sitting in the funeral, or they call it celebration of life. We're sitting in the celebration of life, and police funerals are horrible to sit through. And I knew that going ahead, and I knew I was going to struggle sitting there and having to deal with this, but I just put on a good face, and my wife and I and the kids are sitting there, and all these people are talking about him, and these people are standing up, and I'm like, and I know all the backstories. Everybody that's talking, I know what the truth is, but these people are talking and saying stuff, and how wonderful their relationship was, and I'm thinking to myself, like, you were backstabbing him your entire career, and you're gonna talk in front of a couple hundred people about how great your relationship is, and like all this stuff is going on, and I'm sitting and I'm getting really triggered by it. And then they do the last call on the radio where they call it the badge number, and that I lost it when they started doing that. And I turned to my wife and I go, I'm done. I can't, I can't do this anymore. And my wife's like, it's okay. Like, let's just leave. So we rush out of there. And it was about 3 days later that I had the panic attack on the cruiser. So it was like, that was the final. That was it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't be around people that, I can't turn to in my time of need, that I can't trust. That
Right.
if it was my life that ended, they're going to step in front of my wife and say all these great things about the relationship I had, even though they're trying to screw me over in my career. Are you serious?
Wow.
So there's a lot of that.
Yeah. Wow. That's
And I talk about a lot of this stuff in the book, but it was just, it was eye opening. And, Chief talks about, the family atmosphere. There was never that in the police world. It was, how can I screw you to get the next position, to get this special position or something. There was a lot of that going on in the police world. It was never family. The thin
Yeah.
blue line, that was bull. It was never there.
wow. Wow. I'm sorry, man. Sorry you go through all that.
Yeah.
That's
Amazing.
Something at the end of the day, it made me a stronger person,
right.
because I probably 5 years ago would never be as blunt as I am with it. I would be a lot more political, but I got to be honest with you. I mean, for me, maybe it's the older I'm getting, the less filter I have about it.
I think
but
we all kind of go through that. a
I
little
just
bit.
I can't watch people struggle and leaders not give a crap about them. I can't
Right.
sit there and let it happen. And I see it all over, and it it frustrates me, and I feel like I have to step in now after everything I've been through. I'm like, no more. We're done.
Yeah.
So
I think that is probably the biggest deal right there that you just talked about. How like if people are struggling and the leaders don't care, that's like the that's what will break every organization, every you know every organization, every station, every group of people that are trying to work together. If the leaders don't care about their people,
we're just being human.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just being human.
or not,
Treating another human being like a human. And that's the problem in the agency that I worked for. It was, you were a number.
yeah,
You were a number.
that's tough.
And there was no anytime you showed any human, they would break your balls. They would break your balls relentlessly. And I'm talking to the guys you worked with. Anytime you try to be like, hey man, that really bugged me, they'd be like, you're a sissy. I use another word, but
Yeah.
we're keeping it PG-13. But that would be the locker room talk. They would break your balls about it, and you'd be like, come on, man. Like, so I did that a few times in my career where I would say a comment like, oh man, that was really messed up, and they'd be like, that's nothing. Wait till you get your next call. And this happens, and you're like, man, I don't think it can get any worse than what I just saw. But
Right.
they wanted to break your balls. So you can imagine that's the culture you have in the locker room. Then upstairs, they just don't give a shit, and you're just a number.
Right.
Who do you turn to at that point? You go to EAP. EAP was a joke.
I don't even know
I
what
don't even
EAP
know.
is.
Oh, okay. So employee assistance program,
Okay.
they were a joke.
Is that supposed to be like human resources?
No.
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 Support.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Oh, it's supposed to be support.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's good EAP programs out there. The one that I went through was an absolute joke. Again, I talk about it in the book, but I sat down with a family marriage therapist that was trying to diagnose a first responder who had been through some serious trauma, and I knew it right away, and from years of interviewing folks and being involved in these crazy investigations and having to sit down and talk to me, like I could tell by the look on her face, and I'm just like, this lady's clueless, and then there was a lady that I worked with who's pretty good marriage family, so she was good. She helped me out a lot, and then she basically said, we're done here. Your EAP's over, and you got to go find somebody. And I'm like, I just built this rapport with you. It was going really well, and now, but that's the downside of EAP. You get your 3 to 6 visits or so, and then where do you go from there? So
Yeah.
it's three.
It's
now.
three, yeah.
So you get 3 visits. What do you do?
Wow.
What do you do? And you build,
Yeah.
and it takes time to trust these people. Because I'm going
Right.
to be honest with you, I'm not going to come in and spill my. I know I'm doing on the, but the reality of it is, in a situation like that back then, I wanted to kind of feel her out, feel these people out before I talk to them, and just kind of test the waters, because there was a concern if I say the wrong thing, they're going to take my gun, they're going to take my badge, and I'm done.
Right.
And they tell you that. That's not something I'm making up in my head. Like,
Right,
they tell you
yeah.
if they don't like what you say, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're screwed. And then talk about pension. So you have that pension on the mind.
Yeah.
What do I do with my pension now? Like, that doesn't carry over to being a janitor at the police department. Like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do?
Right.
They're just going to fire me. So, But yeah, it was a wild
That's-
a wild ride, man.
That is crazy,
Yep.
crazy life to go through.
Looking forward to the book.
Yeah, I'm definitely psyched to read
You
this
guys
book
will like
now,
the book. The
for
book
sure.
is great.
And you can get it on Amazon
Yes.
and anywhere else.
So right now, Amazon or the website, if you want a signed copy, the website. But it's through Amazon. It's also Kindle Unlimited as well.
I'm actually in the book. I'm famous.
You're in the book. You're famous. I'm on a podcast. I'm not famous. So careful.
I think the podcast is bringing you down.
But a couple of things, with the Quiet Corner peer support group, that it's nonprofit, so this really doesn't have that. Everybody can kind of step away from the money aspect, the pension aspect, and stuff like that. And then also, it's like you said, you guys remove all your titles, all the rank, and we're all
Yep.
just kind of like group therapy or whatever they need, and
Yeah.
having so many different walks of life for them to choose to talk through. Even some of the other stuff might go quicker, where letting the guard down and whatnot.
And that's so much. So like we have our combat vet, and he has family members that are in the service still. And we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, and he said, Mike, the leaders still kind of frown upon when you go for help. And I looked at him, I said, yeah, remember, we don't take a copay. I said, they don't have to tell anybody that they're coming to us for help. When they come to us, unless you give us some keywords, harm, self-harm, or harming of others, nobody has to know you're coming to us for help. We're not putting it up on a billboard. It is. And he never thought about it that way. He was like, oh, I never thought of it. I go, yeah. I said, this is the whole point of this. I said, you don't come knock on our door and we go, oh, do you have your insurance card, please? We got to write that all down. All our therapists, if they're at the building, it's free.
Right.
We are not charging to help another human being. We want to change that. We want to make sure they have a healthy mind, that we see them 20 years from now and they're still doing this stuff because people cared about them.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're not worried about that, that $35 copay, as I'm always hearing. I can't stand that.
Right.
It's like, we got to change that. We have to be here for each other, especially the first responders, especially veterans. We all got to stand up for each other and say this. If we're going to keep doing this day in and day out, you got to have somebody having your back. It just, my personal note, 24/7, 7 days a week, I'm available. I've been on vacation. They've called me up. I'm like, I can't come. Where? Oh no, I just wanted to talk to you. I'm like, oh, okay, absolutely. As long as I can't fly down to your house, but I will send somebody if that's what you need.
Right.
We'll do it. But that's what I'm so proud of, is we're not going to sit there and charge people
Right.
for help. It's can you imagine that? If you don't have $35 on you, it's like, or $40 or $100, whatever your co-pays are, you
Right.
can't get help.
Yeah.
Come on, that's got to end,
Right.
and we're gonna end it. Well, we've
Yeah.
already started that end.
Yeah. I mean, we're trending towards that direction, and I think we're both on the same page that any service that we offer is going to be a free service. And,
Yeah.
it's just where it's heading.
So it's nonprofit. When people donate, or do people donate?
Yep.
Is there like a monetary way to donate to you guys?
We do have we do have a Zephy account that it comes through for the donations. And normally how it works is folks will email us and they'll want to help out with the donation, so I send them the link. We're keeping the link out there, but now I just send it to them so they don't think it's fraudulent or anything like that. So, but that's one way, or they can do a check. And Hope loves, for some reason, she gets on the computer and she loves typing thank you messages to folks. I hear her typing those little paws moving on the keyboard at night. So she always gets very excited, and I mean, the donations have been great. I mean,
Yeah.
Do we have a deep well? No. But something right now, it's like, how would you describe it? A cistern, like something.
Yeah.
It's shallow, but
It's shallow.
It's enough to keep us going. So, and everything, we don't get anything from it, other than the feeling of we're doing something for our community. So,
Hope is obviously an expense.
oh,
What else? What else is what other expenses do you guys kind of have, or like?
So right now,
uh,
training's an expense. So ideally, I would love First in Tactics to donate the training. Right now, we don't have that at all. That's not. But eventually, the ASAP training I talked about earlier, we put 18 members through the training. Very, very expensive to go through that.
Okay.
So, and I'm talking in excess of $10,000. So it was a lot of money. We're very fortunate that a fire department had sponsored the training. It
Yeah.
never would have happened without the blessing of that department. So, so we're able to get folks trained right away because, again, we believe in ASAP. We believe in the EMDR. We believe in doing holistic type approaches. Um, so, so that was a big hurdle.
Yeah.
And there's no way we could have done that just out of the general funds for the nonprofit. But we're planning on another ASAP class in December. We're currently soliciting donations from the town of Killingly. We're in negotiations now. That's a big one. I
Right.
think it's kind of super secret right now, but I will tell you that we're very hopeful. First of all, the town of Killingly has been amazing in this whole process,
Yeah.
and we were sad to see Mary go. She's been a huge advocate, but Buddy he's right there with us. So
Nice.
as a former trooper, he gets it.
Yeah.
So he's been phenomenal. But we're in negotiations with the town right now. If we get that funding, you're going to see some pretty amazing things happen in this town very quickly, because we already have a business plan. We already have everything lined up, and it's just the dominoes are going to start to fall
Yeah.
into place. And as far as other donations, we've had a few just trickle in that we didn't suspect. Some personal donations. Some lady came up to me, very very nice woman, came up to me at an event and gave me $10, and she's like, "This is for hope,"
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, "Oh wow!" Like it was just like you could tell she didn't have the money, and I felt bad taking it, but I was like, "Thank you so much. Like this is going to go to good use."
Yeah.
So I mean, people are just they come up from every angle with
Right.
this stuff. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I wish you all the luck in the world with the town embracing any part of this. You know what I mean? And hopefully this leaches into the cop world, the police world, and it becomes a better way to take care of first responders. You know, especially with the huge need for therapy or whatever you want to call it that fixes the mental anguish that so many people are going through.
and therapy too is just, at least in my own experience, that's like one part of it. The beautiful thing about what we're trying to do is yes, we do the therapy part, we do the EMDR stuff, but it's part of that wellness holistic approach. So you're getting it from every which angle, and at the end of the day, there's a group you can reach out to when you're really struggling. There's people you can call. When I was going through my own stuff, I was on an island. I had nobody. Yes, I had my own family, but I had nobody.
Yeah, and
So
some of this stuff is just like you said. The training is pivotal, and
Yeah.
a lot of people want to help, but they don't know what to do. So having that type of training or that knowledge, or even just start having pamphlets that people could read to just see how they can help or what classes they can take and then help. Do we have to worry about any kind of insurance for this?
Yes. So
I was just wondering.
right now, and that's a great point, because obviously, we live in a society where things go south and people look for money
Someone
to
to blame.
compensate when
Yeah.
things go south. So that's a great point, and really, it's covered through the fire department network, but eventually that will be a separate entity of its own, and because there needs to be, any business should have insurance of some sort.
Yeah.
But right now, what we're doing, I feel as though we're okay for liability wise, because the way that we follow up and the way that we document things behind the scenes, we're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
So it's not, and again, we try to get people help, and then we follow up with them, and we're in constant contact, and it's usually through text messages. So we're
Right. So it's documented.
it's documented. Now, I'm sure at some point, liability could be an issue. We hope it's not, because we have good intentions, and we're not trying to steer
Right.
somebody down the wrong path. And we hope that people recognize that what we're trying to do is for the better.
Right.
So
Yeah. It's obvious. It's like the opposite of malicious. Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely no malicious intent
Yeah.
with this.
So-
But I could see where your mind's going with that, and that's definitely on our mind as well.
Yeah.
But right now it's the peer support group is attached to the Dayville Firehouse for a reason. It's right now because we don't have our building up and ready to go yet. So
Yeah.
once that's ready, all that other stuff's going to fall into place.
Right. Yeah. That's what we have insurance for, and you have a lot of Dayville members on it, so it's easy to cover it.
Yeah.
It's the right stuff to do.
Yeah.
I got backing from my board of directors and all
Yeah.
that, so we take precaution. Like I said, we document everything.
Yeah. And just when you develop something so special, so helpful and amazing, you want to make sure it's preserved in the right way that someone can't take it down,
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, too, we are dealing with first responders who are an emotional or traumatic type experience, and they're in a crisis.
Right.
Potentially, they're in a conflict or a crisis. So, recognizing that, and that's why the folks that actually go out, like we have folks that are not trained right now that don't go out in deployments, but the folks that do are trained under the ASAP protocol, are trained as peer support members. So they're going out with that training. We would never put somebody in that position that doesn't have the training, because obviously bad things can happen and
Right.
you can say something inappropriate. Another thing we do is we're always sending 2 members out, minimum of 2 members. And we try to have a male and a female together, or just we try
Yeah.
to
The buddy
system
system
yeah,
and
yep.
whatnot. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, and we're obviously, him coming from corrections, me coming from the police world. We've been down these roads
Oh, yeah.
more
Yeah.
times than we can remember, and we're very cautious about that. But we hope people recognize we're all doing this for the right reason, and we're not doing it for anything inappropriate.
Right. Right. For sure. Well, man, this has been eye-opening, mind-blowing. Just and it's like, you named a dog perfectly. That hope. It
Wasn't me.
it just-
Yeah.
So funny story about that. We got to.
Okay. I'd love to hear it.
So when we were looking to get a dog,
'Cause we're men. We're manly men.
we like men names. So we were looking, like, we thought Ash, because he rise from the ashes.
Yeah.
Beautiful, poetic. Wrote this big thing about it. I was like, this is gonna be beautiful. And then I'll let Mike.
So then I ran into Amy Burnett,
Okay.
right? So I said, hey, we got a dog. So she goes, oh, can I help name it? Sure. I mean, throw something else, because it's going to be Ash. 'Cause we want that manly stuff. And she goes, Hope, because that's what you're going to give people. And I was like,
Like, damn it.
and
Like, can we return the collars now?
it was funny. My fiance Jessica owns Evergreen Farms. She paid the full amount for the dog out of her own money.
Wow.
Paid the full amount, and her only thing was, I want Hope for the name, because she knew us guys were going to still go for that Ash. And
Wow.
that was her only requirement. She paid the whole total.
Shout out to, what was her name again?
Jessica O'Brien, and she's
At
the owner of Evergreen Farms.
Evergreen Farms.
Wedding venue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
amazing woman. Can't believe she's with me. Keep waiting for her to smarten up and run.
Well, thank you to her for sure, and shout out to Evergreen Farms.
Evergreen Farms Wedding
Evergreen
venue.
Farms
Yep,
Wedding
right in
venue.
Dayville.
Yeah, that's right on 101.
Yep.
It's it's kind of like a rising star. I keep hearing about them more and more. So
Yeah, she does a lot of work to it. She's a good person. She cares about the brides. I always say that's what makes a difference. She actually really cares.
yeah, nice.
Oh, should we do the plug about the big event there coming in?
I would. Why not?
I feel like we should.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have an event coming up in November, charity event, and we're gonna do it's a working title, but it sounds like this is gonna be the title. It's gonna be Rocking for Hope. Not that we're using the dog so much, but it's Rocking for Hope, and we're gonna have 4 bands there. The 4 bands are Afterglow. There's an awesome bassist for After. Have you guys heard of awesome bassist? It's me. Me and my boys. So Afterglow's, and then it's Sundance, Whiskey Boulevard.
Oh,
And
they came on.
They've been here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick Boss is
Nick
going to be the headliner. So Nick Boss, amazing guy. A huge supporter of veterans and mental health. So we're super excited. That's going to be November 15th at Evergreen.
Yep. Evergreen Farms. Yep.
Be a ton of social stuff coming out on that in the coming weeks, but we're super excited about it. We're looking to pack the venue that night and just come out and celebrate all our first responders and the initiatives
Yep.
we've all been doing. So
Wow. Where can you get tickets for that?
So it'll be on the Facebook. It's probably going to use Everbright or one of those
Yeah.
ticket programs. We're not sure. I got to be honest with you, we've been so busy. We're starting to delegate stuff to other team members
Nice.
because honestly,
That's
it
good.
was getting to the point where I would open my computer, I would just like get lost in all the stuff.
Yeah.
So we have some folks that are running lead on that.
Yep.
So yeah, so we're super excited. That's going to be our first like huge event, and then we have something really big. We can't talk about it quite yet, but we have something really big in 2026 that is going to be a statewide event. So it's going to
wow.
be huge,
Cool.
bringing in other peer support teams. So we are currently working on that and negotiating that with the other peer support groups in the state. So
Wow, that's awesome.
so
How
big
do you,
things happening.
Do you know how many peer support groups there are, or how it originated, or any of that?
So here's the thing: in Connecticut, there's no actual number or way of tracking it. Really, what it is there's I call them the splinter cells. So it's each department has a couple peer support trained members. From my understanding, and I could be wrong, and there's probably somebody out there that's listening to this like this guy has no idea what he's talking about. So, but I'm going to throw this out there. At least from what I could find in my own research, I can't find another nonprofit that's just peer support related in the first responder world. All I find is these peer support groups within the agency itself, and that's it. So they tend to not connect with other peer support groups. There's training networks, there's other things that go on, but an actual peer support group like what we're doing, I can't find anything in Connecticut. So so we are pretty unique in that sense. In fact, when I was talking to the other peer support groups about this big thing in 2026, they were surprised the way that we have it layered in the way that we're doing
Yeah.
things. So they were super excited to hear more about it. And some of them are joining our group as another support or layer of support for their own. So so we're starting to splinter out outside of the quiet corner right now.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, and then maybe you develop more and more of them.
yeah,
So
it's
that-
going to be a lot of work.
Well,
but it's all good work.
yeah.
It's worth it. And I think the more we network and we delegate and we move things forward, because we have a lot of passionate folks part on the team. And,
For sure.
Oh,
these I mean, before I could finish the sentence, they're off running with it.
Yep.
I mean, that's how great these folks are. So, so yeah, so we have a lot of great things going on.
I love it. I love it. You guys are obviously welcome at the bench anytime. Anytime we can help, we can
that'd be great.
push an event for you. And you know, I super psyched about reading this book. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
giving us each a copy. That's really cool. It has really been an honor to meet you
In
guys.
signing.
Thank you.
Yeah, in signing. That's cool. I don't have many signed books.
Hey, I've never been in a book before. I called my sister from Florida. I'm like, I'm in a book. And my name's spelled correctly. This is awesome.
I did change it my spell correct. So anytime I spell it wrong, it does it correctly.
That's so funny. It only took you, what, 27 years of knowing him to get it right?
I spelled it wrong.
I think I still have it on my phone without the I. It's two E's. And then I realized I'm like, oh, oops.
Well, thank you guys so much. Appreciate you coming out, especially on Memorial Day. It's been a great Memorial Day special. I was honored to have you guys at the bench. Everybody else, thank you for watching. The Community Workbench families are kicking off their Be the One campaign. It was started by the American Legion in efforts to stop veteran suicide. If you know a veteran, call them. Be the one to check in on them. For more details, visit betheone.org. Join us again next Monday night at 6 when we interview Nathan Gould, the chef resurrecting the airline grill location. Going to be putting in a restaurant called Tail
Nope.
Fin
Pen
Pin
tail.
Tail Pin Tail. So good with names. I know I should read the monitor. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for watching me stumble through it all. I appreciate it. As always, buy local, hire local, dine local, volunteer local, and donate local. Have great days.